4 days and counting to Super Bowl 58, and we're going to give you a Wednesday walkthrough. Swagoo, we'll start with you. Kansas City, what does their offense need to focus on?
The Kansas City offense needs to focus on getting Travis Kelce in advantageous situations. Against the Buffalo Bills, he was in condensed splits, and they found matchups for him. Against the Baltimore Ravens, they spread him out wide. He heard talk about Kyle Hamilton is going to be able to guard him. They've done a tremendous job at being game plan specific, but also making sure that Isaiah Pacheco is still involved. Travis Kelce, Pacheco, that's the focus.
Jeff, how about the defense? What's KC got to worry about?
Oh, stopping Christian McCaffrey. Listen, the Chiefs are 28th in the league when they go against like 22 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, and getting physical downhill in between the tackles. Kansas City's going to have to bow their neck, play physical ball, not give up, because McCaffrey is a catalyst to this offense. They got to shut him down.
The head of the snake, as I've been hearing all week long. Let's go the other side. Mike T, San Francisco offense. What's the focus?
Pass protection, Greedy, and specifically on the right side. Colton McKivitz has given up 13 sacks in the postseason compared to only 1 for Trent Williams. Thanks, Hembo. We have to slide protection to the right side, because if not, Steve Spagnuolo will overload blitz from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, and that could send Brock Purdy home.
13 sacks in the postseason. That's a big number. Swagoo, how about the defense? What does San Francisco's D need to be worried about?
Well, we obviously have seen it a lot. The stretch zone, and this defensive line has to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes when he drops back. Pat has not been sacked. He never seems to be rattled or ruffled. The Ravens got to him a couple times in that game, but this defensive line, if you remember the first time in this matchup, Nick Bosa was trending towards being the MVP. I believe he's going to have that type of performance against this Kansas City Chiefs iteration as well. This defensive line has to win in the pass rush in order for San Francisco to have an opportunity to win this football game.
I want to show you a list of people that Patrick Mahomes could join if he wins the Super Bowl on Sunday. All right, it would mean he's 7 years into his league, and he would have 3 championship rings and 2 MVPs. It's never been done in the history of the NFL. You will not see the letters NFL on the right side of your screen. It's been done by Larry Bird and Bill Russell, Mickey Mantle, Stan Musial, and Joe DiMaggio, and Guy Lafleur, and that's it. So we are talking about sports royalty.
Wow.
We are genuinely talking about immortality at stake for Patrick Mahomes if he wins this game. We can talk about GOAT stuff. All that stuff is for down the road.
Yeah.
But just this game puts him in that company. Marcus, what does that make you think?
I mean, G, you remember when we were sitting in Miami, I believe.
I do.
And we were having a conversation about Patrick Mahomes and what we had seen him do. I believe that was his MVP season. And I said, by the time this guy gets around his 5th or 6th year, we're going to have to start having a conversation about, is he the best or is he the greatest we've ever seen play the position? And obviously he's entering into that company, and there's a worthy conversation going on, even though I still think it's Tom Brady, even though I play around with it a little bit. But when you look at Patrick Mahomes and what he's been able to do, not only for himself individually, but in order for Andy Reid to become another focus in this conversation, who couldn't get over the hump before he was his quarterback. When you look at his ability to go into stadiums, we asked, could he go on the road and win games this year? Well, it was no different than when he was playing in Kansas City. The poise, the confidence, and the early accolades. And I truly believe this. If it had not been for a hampered offensive line against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they would have been in that game with an opportunity to win it. I have no doubt in my mind, because if you look at the way that he played, he still was putting the ball in locations where his receivers could make plays, and it could have been a closer game. Right. It is greatness that we're watching. I don't want to get into the greatest of all time yet. I don't want to start talking about his comparison with Tom Brady, but it is greatness that we are watching. And the fact that we are in an era where a quarterback can stand among the rest in a pass-happy league with so much talent, so many playmakers, really good quarterbacks in this league, and the fact that he is head and shoulders above them, it speaks volumes to the generation right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. The Tom Brady conversation is a legacy and longevity conversation. But what you're talking about is putting you in the inner room of all the Hall of Fames of sport.
Yeah.
Like that's completely different, right? This is in 6 starting years, he's gone to 6 AFC championship. Like the things that he's doing and continues to do, and that we keep saying, well, if he checks one more box, he's checked them. He wins this thing, and he is in a different stratosphere. And again, greatest of all time, like who cares? What he's done to this point is outperformed, and he's already in a conversation that no one in our game has gotten into. That is insane to me. When you put that list up, like the level of awe for me just went to a different level. Because I looked at it, I go, nobody. I mean, nobody that we've seen some great ones in our generation, and the greatest of all time being Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But it's above. It's unbelievable.
My man Darius, who sent me that this morning.
It's unreal.
He knows I love sports history. Patrick Mahomes doesn't belong in the GOAT conversation yet because he's 28 years old. Tom Brady played till he was 45.
Right.
It is a fool's errand to start talking about him in that context. But this is fully legitimate.
Yeah.
Mantle, DiMaggio, Musial. You're talking about 3 of the 15 greatest baseball players that ever lived. Bird and Russell. You're talking about 2 of the 10 or 12 best basketball players that ever lived. And Guy Lafleur, maybe the most legendary player, if not the greatest hockey player of all time. That's the company we're talking about.
Agree. A microcosm of this is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, without question, is the best receiver in the NFL. They move on from him last year, and all they do is win the Super Bowl and then go on the road, beat a good Buffalo team, beat a good Raven team, and they're doing it with Rashee Rice and Sky Moore and Valdez Scantling, just guys. He's making people around them better. And the other point to me that's really remarkable is if Bill Belichick was sitting right here in this conversation, he would say, there's 2 ways to win the NFL. Go beat your opponent or let them lose. Well, right now, he's beating you both ways.
Yes.
They didn't score in the second half against the Ravens. He played keep away. In his last 5 playoff games, he has not thrown an interception, and he's only been sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
So he's not going to lose the game. And, oh, by the way, you need me to win it? No problem. I could go win it.
Jeez.
But that's what makes him so great.
He is playing the position practically perfectly.
He is.
And perfection is something that no one will ever achieve.
Yes.
But you're not going to get a lot closer than he has in this postseason and last combined. Go ahead, Marcus.
There's a semblance of these guys, right? Like when we start talking about Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and you saw Bill Russell and Bird up there, there is something that we attach to the way that they're playing all the time. And, we talk about all of the great players. You know what it looks like when Patrick Mahomes is playing? It looks like all of the other people that we have these conversations about. It looks like he's playing against people that don't process it as fast as he does. It looks easy to him. And I was watching that Ravens game, and because I thought about this when Mike T just brought up how he doesn't have any turnovers. He doesn't have any turnovers because the game looks completely different to Patrick Mahomes than everybody else out there. It's going way faster for everybody else out there than it's going for him. He's managed in his 7th year in the NFL to slow this game down at a pace where no one can speed him up. Not a blitz, not a player that's staring down on the opposing side, not even conditions. I mean, we talking about 2 playoff games that was in 0 degrees damn near, that he went and just handled his business. So I think we attach that moniker to a lot of guys that we consider to be in this great situation, whatever you call ice water in your veins, or he doesn't freak under pressure, or none of that. When I see Patrick Mahomes play right now, when I saw him play, it spoke volumes in Baltimore, especially with how good that team was.
There's been a lot of speculation about the possibility that Andy Reid will sail off into the sunset after this game, particularly if they win. He addressed that, all this speculation about his retirement. You be the judge if he put that to rest.
Am I retired? Listen, my mom and dad told me this when they were working. They said, you'll know when it's time, and I'm ready to go right now. Let's go. That's what they would tell me when I was young. So, and I was an inquisitive kid. So that's the way I look. I mean, somewhere you're going to know when it's time. Today's not the day.
Okay, so John Fink, who was our coordinating producer and has this kind of mind, immediately says, well, he said today's not the day, Greeny. That doesn't mean tomorrow's not the day. I interpreted that to be Andy saying, I'm not retiring, I'm coming back. And if indeed that is the case, you were telling me on our call this morning, they've gotten through most of the bad contract stuff they're going to have to. This thing may only be going in this direction.
Greeny, they are over the hump from a cap personnel standpoint. Now, look, they have a couple big decisions. Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, but when they could franchise one of them. But their defense, as Hembo reminded me, is the youngest defense in the playoffs. They have a great young nucleus of George Karlaftis, Trent Williams, amongst others. So they're in a great situation.
Yeah, Spagnuolo being with them for as long as they have. Listen, why would you want to retire? Ain't no way this dude's retiring. You're winning. You've got all the people in places that matter for you. All you're doing is kind of retooling each and every year. There's no way he's walking away from this thing.